Hello, and welcome back to the Elemental I Ching. And today we're in the Heaven's Tea Temple with our newly revived portal. And this portal has now been infused with the Bagua, the Elemental I Ching, right directly into our wall here in our tea temple. And I wanted to bring this alive. We painted this portal during hexagram 61, GK61, which we're going to drink in today as our contemplation. This Jinki is, in the I Ching, it's called inner truth. And in the Jinkis, it moves from psychosis, from the constant pressure of why, of the pressure of the mind, of our unease, our feeling of unease and fear with our dissatisfied thoughts, with our murky swamp of our thoughts, and that continual addiction cycle of the mind, to the gift of inspiration, the breath of inspiration. It's the gentle wind over the joyous lake, that intuition that follows the vitality of life. Inspiration. To the city, the enlightened state of sanctity, that sanctified place, the place where our mind can finally rest. You know, the clarity that emerges from that bliss of being. And so working through this key, it's this element of the wind, of the gentle spirals of the wind, of the gentle wood, the intuition, the clarity of life that shows us to follow those spirals, even the invisible moments, right? And the lake of being in our body, to be in our natural joyousness, to allow the pond to grow still of our thoughts so that we can simply be in the elation, the natural life vitality that emerges from being present, from being still, from detaching our stories to what we're feeling and identifying with our emotions as they go through their rampage, but to just be without story. So following these spirals of thought, psychosis is this collective confusion that humanity can be in that shadow state, where it follows the mind into its infinite loops, and it gets stuck in the head, and it gets fanatical about one idea being the truth, or it just gives up on everything, and it just loses all gusto for life. It just feels overwhelmed and trapped in these endless cycles of thought. And I love the metaphor that in the Jinkis they use of pulling out the cork, the stopper, on this endless stream of psychotic thought and intellect, and actually acknowledging that God is the pressure, life force, natural intelligence, and the creative essence of life. That's what's being all wound up, and it wants to pour through into our art, into our life as art, into inspiration, you know, into activating our gifts, into following our intuition, where naturally life vitality, life force meets that unconflicted behavior and streams out into the world as our magic, as our art. That's the gift of inspiration. Inspiration, the breathing in of spirit, the inhaling of spirit, the allowing this great cosmic mystery to inform our movements, to inform our poetry, to inform our life. The bliss that occurs from just letting the sensations of life occur, to listen to our intuition of where it's moving me in the space, to know how to respond to each of life's experiences, but to not attach a story of blame, complaining, of being in the swamp of those thoughts, but actually just allowing energy to keep its motion, to keep its to keep this Taiji motion moving and constantly spiraling. So my application of all this, we did this amazing portal. We played music. It was just our house. It was just our housemates. We come together in kind of our art church, and we set up all the music, and we prepared. Each person actually did one of these elements to kind of weave in their prayers. And it's a funny thing with Portal Tech, because you know, when we first made this inspirational art piece, when it first landed in this temple, this frequency, this cymatic, is called return to spiritual order. And it's the crown chakra and the precession of the equinoxes, these long cycles of stellar time that are returning us, realigning us to that heavenly direction, inspiration, to breathe in this long-term cycle of life, these spirals of life. And we anchored that here, and within weeks the tea temple was being constructed and Po was moving in, and suddenly what was a crazy creative rebel sanctuary suddenly became these tea monks, and we suddenly became rooted with ancient tea, with stacks and stacks of ancient tea and art. This rooting, this returning to spiritual order. And as the years went on, we've been needing to revive and re-engage with these art pieces. Each of our art pieces, every altar that we create, every, the way that we organize our kitchen and our life, each of these can be portals of inspiration. They can be ways that we engage with the sacred offering of life. We don't have to stay in the stuck, dissatisfied, well, things are as they are and they can't be changed, or I can only change them and it's this heavy burden to do something. We don't have to get stuck and identified with any particular thought form. Inspiration is constantly crackling and tearing open the thought forms that we keep ourselves held in. We're not victims to the way things are. We are participants in this life's journey. And how we respond, how our attitude spirals with those challenges, or gets stuck in the fear and in the murky swamp, and then it becomes this psychosis. It becomes this fanatical, mental-based anxiety that's just confused. Or we can accept and embrace that we are confused and actually use that as an inquiry into the mystery, as a portal of inspiration. And to choose to use the magic wand of our paintbrush, to use the active, magical intent of our life as our art. Whether you're painting on the wall or not, every opportunity, every action, every tiny action is an opportunity to infuse that magical spirit, to guide spirit through the breath of our life, and to maintain and cultivate and be elated by that natural vitality that emerges in the proper moment. We have to navigate all these turmoil, this turbulent field of our emotions, of our relationships, of our current global status. And I don't need to stay a victim to the psychotic thoughts of why are things as they are? What if we live in the apocalypse and in a fascist regime? What can I do? It's not about getting stuck in the story of that, nor about bypassing and just ignoring what it is that's occurring, but using this prima materia, using this confusion as fuel for inspiration, for passionate intent to be married with my unconflicted behavior, so that the natural life vitality moves me in the direction where my mind can rest, sanctity, to reclaim our temple, to reclaim spiritual order, to reclaim clarity of mind while we're experiencing all we're experiencing. It doesn't mean it's just over and we get to live happily ever after. Enlightenment is a habit we have to cultivate, right? This connection with all of life, and a loving no. How do I want to say this? A ferocious devotion to not giving into the story of suffering. An ability to really receive life's challenges as the inspiration that they are, and deep compassion to all of the pain and suffering that we have used as a culture, as me individually, as us as a family, as a tribe, as a world community, as this global human family. We've gone through and are going to continue to go through waves of intensity, of experience, of loss, of pain, of all of these learning lessons through sensation. And can we breathe that in as a part of ourselves, as an opportunity for greater inspiration, to live in a harmonious way with life, to follow these clues that are laid out for us, and to learn at what time, how can we respond with the right elemental balance to create even more harmony in this situation. That's my inspiration, you know, and that's what helps my mind and body come to peace, so that I can experience more and more glimpses of that inner truth, of that sanctified field, of that connected and unified way of thinking and knowing and being and feeling and growing and praying and playing and creating and expressing. That's what the field of inspiration means and breathes into me. What are you inspired by? What has inspired you this week while the sun was moving through this key? And how will you continue to learn to harness your capacities, to cultivate your capacities, to take what you learn in the spiritual breakthroughs of your life and walk in the world and walk into places that make you feel uncomfortable, you know, and where the fluorescent light bulbs are really bright and the people are talking about something that you consider lower than what you want to be. You know, why do we separate ourselves, the spiritual community and the non-spiritual, the muggles, right? Where can we walk our talk into the living, breathing, you know, muck of reality, into the deepest intensities? Can we bring that lightness of the air moving across that lake, of the gentle wind breathing our cultivation in a calm and easeful way throughout any experience that we face? This is my inspiration moving forward, is to breathe that every way that I walk, to have these portals anchored in my home, to return myself into spiritual order here in my home, here in this body of this temple, to reclaim and reintegrate myself from my spiritual experiences, from my strengthened community, from my art, and then walk that world. Walk with that energy into the world. You know, we're entering into the brand in our Pearl Virtual Retreat. It's so much about cultivating our capacity to shine and how we walk that out into the world. So I hope to see some inspiration from all of you and to share your art, your breath, your life force as a sacred offering to all of us, to stay awake, to remember that this gentle wind is guiding us clue by clue to how to turn our dissatisfaction into loving, natural joy, into that vitality, into that bliss of sensation. Many blessings.